We are on a mission to save and revitalize independent pharmacy.
On the Catalyst Pharmacy podcast, you'll get actionable business advice.
Hear stories from industry leaders.
And share a laugh or two with us.
Fuel your passion for pharmacy.
One conversation at a time.
Welcome to the Catalyst Pharmacy Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Key, and here I am today with my also a host, Marsha.
Hi, I'm your Catalyst Podcast host, Marsha Bivins, Director of Marketing for PioneerRx. Today we are here with our great friend, Jennifer Palazzolo, and she is the owner of Flatirons Family Pharmacy in Longmont, Colorado.
How's Colorado?
Well, I mean, it's great, but the snow, I need the snow to melt.
You need it to melt. Go ski on it. I hear the snows there are the best in years.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, we're going to go up on Sunday. My son took up snowboarding this year,
nice.
So he's still doing some lessons.
And he's my son's age, right? He's 13, 14?
Yeah, he's 14.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so we were at an unnamed ski resort last week. And
Big Sky. Yes,
Nope.
I know. I was going to go.
Cut that.
Oh.
No.
Yes.
I'm kidding.
No, because Jeff's big thing is like Big Sky was getting way too crowded the last few years that we went. And there was a lot of people that are like, Big Sky sucks, tell your friends. Big Sky sucks, tell your friends.
Well, that was like 10 years ago.
That was 10 years ago.
10 years
yeah.
ago, the big funny thing was, because during the week after Christmas, the lines weren't long. And the big fun thing, you'd see people on the lift lines and they'd go, Big Sky sucks, tell all your friends. You know, it's big kind of, hey, keep the secret, right?
Yeah.
And now it's come out in ski magazines as 1 or 2 in the top 10. And, you know, of course, you got Yellowstone and all the people have this mystique about Montana and cowboys.
Before Yellowstone, the big thing that like I was hearing on the mountain was always like, this celebrity is here this week and they're over at this campsite. And like one year it was Justin Timberlake and one year it was Miley and Liam after they got married.
Yeah, but were they next door at like the...
Yeah, they were next door.
Yeah, at the Yellowstone. There's a Yellowstone club.
Yep, there's a Yellowstone club.
That's kind of invite only
Yep.
up there nearby.
So we have unfortunately succumbed to, we are starting the Yellowstone
Now that we have
series.
to beep out multiple names. Go ahead, you were starting the Yellowstone series?
Yeah, so now we have started
Oh,
it.
you haven't watched it?
No. I decided to start watching it. I decided to start watching it on the plane because my grandmother is obsessed with it and like she's just
It's
like
so good.
really invested. But yeah,
I'm starting 1883 now. I'm going to relocate to Montana, and I've let my husband know I'm leaving him and finding a cowboy.
Oh.
I got to pick farmer.
Just has to be
That's
done.
close enough.
I was like, you can come, but I am going to find a cowboy.
Where we stayed this time in Big Sky, they had they use cowboys. They have cowboys take your
They
as
always
valets.
have cowboys.
Yeah, the valets are cowboys.
No, I was actually going to go because I have a credit from last year,
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
and everything was $1,000 a night. And I was like, if I'm spending $1,000 a night, I better be like in the Ritz-Carlton in like, I don't know where.
They've remodeled it. So it's
So
not as it's rustic.
I'm going to go in March. I'm
Yeah.
going to take my son in March.
So it's
for
less
like
expensive in March.
300 a night.
Oh,
wow.
nice. Yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah. I mean, it's still like $2,000, but that's what I have a credit for. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not spending $1,000 a night. And you ski, right? Like it's not like you're hanging out in your room, like
Right.
getting room service.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I'm going to surprise my son and take him out of school a couple days and go in March.
Nice.
We are taking the kids to Taos in March.
Nice.
So
you ever been to Taos?
I haven't. I have
haven't
an
either.
Epic Pass this year. I got to see where else I can go. I am doing the CPS meeting at Beaver Creek. That's local, but I haven't skied Beaver Creek here before. So
Yeah, supposedly the snow is amazing. My wife's sister lives in Eagle.
I'm a pretty chill skier. I'm like a blue-green skier, but
Yep.
I like it when the conditions are nice.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it was nice. Last week was couple of blue sky days. It was
Nice.
just really,
That's
really
what this weekend will be. It's supposed to be in the 50s down here in Boulder, which will put it probably like in the 30s and sunny up there. So like those are the perfect days.
Yeah, that's skiing with your jacket open.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's going on with you? What you working on? What you scheming? It's a new year, so I bet you got all these plans and dreams. So tell us what's going on.
Yeah. So, what are we working on right now? I mean, our big revenue goal for us is increasing our compounding because, as we all know, I think as a business owner right now, you have to decide what you can control and what you can't control, right? And so for us, we've always known like what we have control over is the compounds, and the revenue that comes from that is predictable. So right now we're doing about 1,200 compounds a month, and our what do they call it? The big hairy goal, big lofty goal is 1,500 compounds a month by the end of the year.
Okay.
Wow.
So yeah, so that is our like up here goal. I mean, it's big growth. It's lofty. So we're gonna set incremental goals as a team throughout the year to meet that. But what we're doing is like dialing into specific things, like maybe things that we haven't really touched on or focused on. So for us, we're tying a couple things into like we're big, as you guys know, like functional medicine is big for us. It's our thing. It's what we're good at. It's our specialty. And so like I don't want to say we've saturated the market there, but I think the relationships that we've built are built, they're steady. So now we're looking at like, what else can we do? And so one of the things, that I know a lot of pharmacies do is like pain, and we don't do a lot of pain. And so we're looking at like, okay, what can we do with pain that might be a little bit different? So we're like we're going to look at podiatry, which sounds kind of random, but with podiatry, we can tackle wound care and pain creams, right? We can go into two areas that we haven't done and see what kind of growth we can get there. We in town, like in our zip codes, we have about 5 zip codes in Longmont. It's bizarre. We've pretty much saturated our vet relationships. So that is huge for us. It's probably a third of our compounding. So we're now just going to expand our radius with some targeted practices that we think will benefit by the types of services they offer from our compounding and quick turnaround. So it's always like, we don't go in saying like, oh, well, don't use this pharmacy because of what reason. We come in and say, what problems do you have? What gaps can we fill?
Yep.
And here's how we can fill them. And one of the things that we do is our calendar allows for new compounds to be done with either same day or within 24 hours. So in the vet world, that can be big, right? Because a lot of times people are taking their animal like for an emergency, or they had surgery and they need a pain med that they didn't expect and couldn't get ahead of time. So we're going to try to like expand our reputation outside of our zip code and just kind of see if our trajectory can go upwards towards that end of year goal. Another thing is I hired a new pharmacist that I'm super excited about her. I don't know if you guys know the DISC test. I'm sure if you've talked to Travis much, right? So we use the DISC test with our employees, and it's a pie. And, you kind of want to have all of your pie filled with different people and different skill sets. So Angie is literally the only person that has tested almost like me on the DISC test. So like I'm a high D, which I mean, anybody could probably guess. And so I'm really excited. I mean, that can go two ways. Like you can either butt heads or you can be like really aligned. And so far she's been with me about 2 months now. And I feel like we're really aligned in our, just like our confidence, our go after itness. And so she's finally launching our men's health program, which focuses on erectile dysfunction. But as we know, like primary care, even specialties, right? They're usually now with you with an iPad that has a clock ticking, and they have really limited time to spend with you. And so we're going to try to partner with primary care doctors and urologists for patients that have erectile dysfunction. And with us, they get an hour-long visit to go over their concerns, certain devices that might help them before they need to go a compounded injection route, right? It's not a topic everybody's comfortable with, even pharmacists, right? And so we have a program that we have an office, we have a discrete way of scheduling your appointment and a discrete place to do it. And for us, it's a cash pay appointment that includes quite a few things. You have the option then of a commercial prescription, a compounded prescription, and if need be, an injectable prescription. And we partner with the doctor. I think that's where maybe some pharmacies are sometimes getting stuck in the weeds of like, well, I don't want to step on the doctor's toes. I don't want them to think we're trying to do this. And it's like, it's all about how you present what you're doing. And we're basically going in saying, hey, we know a lot of your patients have this need. We know that you're not going to carry and sell different devices. And we know that you don't have an hour to an hour and a half to spend with them. Here's where we want to help you level up what you offer. And we'll send you the notes. We'll send, all of that. So you're partnering with them. You're not trying to take their patient.
I'd be curious to see what your analogy is of working with a DISC person that's of the same similarity, because like we did the DISC as a manager's retreat last year, well, roughly. And 15 years with Jeff, and he came up a high DI and I came up a high ID, like right next to each other.
Yeah, sometimes that's great.
And sometimes
so my prediction for you and your...
So there's your warning.
Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not.
Yes.
Rodney's my functional medicine pharmacist, and he is a D, but he's a different type of D. We probably would never do well like being married or something. I mean, we definitely have some heated discussions that the staff is like, oh man, you guys need to close the door. It happens, but then we hug it out, right? Like then we're good. We're like, okay, we both just escalated, bring it back down. We're usually trying to say the same thing, right? It's just we're not presenting it well because we're so like digging our heels in. But yeah, for us so far, I think it's been good. And for me as an owner, it's just kind of refreshing to have somebody that wants to try something new and isn't afraid to go after it. And so in Colorado, we also now have the test to treat. So for us, we don't need those collaborative practice agreements anymore. If somebody tests positive for flu or strep,
that's great.
UTIs. So we're trying to expand our offerings of point of care testing because we don't have that limiting factor of finding a doctor that's comfortable signing off on any and everything that you would be positive for. We are the prescriber now for those things within this law.
So are you advertising that? So a state, you get that, you now have this capability. How are you taking the best advantage of it?
Yeah. So one of my challenges this year is to get outside the box with social media and do it. And as I think we all know, like the algorithms are videos do better than stills, stills that you take do better than stock photos. So we're doing a mix of paid ads, but also both of us are going to just kind of do videos, whether we video doing a test, video an appointment that somebody's like, yeah, I'm cool to be on camera. So it's really just trying to get that presence out there. I mean, because you always have signs, you have bag stuffers, but a lot of times right now it is hitting those targeted sponsored
It gets about the same
ads.
attention as a postcard.
Yeah. Those things don't, I mean, I've tried it all in
Yeah.
the almost 9 years I've been in business, and it's usually reputation, word of mouth, but it's social media or Google, right? Like making sure your presence on Google for those keywords comes up. If somebody's like strep test, you pop up at the top. And then they can go to your website and see, oh gosh, this is way easier than urgent care. And it's actually the same as my copay or cheaper. So that's how we're trying to, market that. And for us, the revenue is obviously on the test, and the prescription is you may or may not make money.
Are the big chains there? Are they doing that and pushing that and advertising that? Or are they kind of like don't really care?
Well, we haven't seen it from the bigger chains, but the grocery store chains, 2 of them are doing it. But I'm on a panel. I'm moderating a panel this month, so I've had the opportunity to talk with a couple people that are doing it in the grocery store chains, and for them. And this is one of the things we're going to talk about on the panel. The limiting factor is not having enough staff to do it, right? They don't have designated staff to do it. So it's basically our model then is different. Like we have a designated technician that can do the testing who isn't pulled out of workflow. She has other duties in the pharmacy in addition to testing. So a lot of times the larger operations just don't have the manpower to do this or to do it efficiently. So people are going in and they're waiting, or they're going in and they're asking about it, and they're like, well, we don't have time to do it right now. So we have an appointment-based model where you can make the appointment, come in, stay in your car, just like with COVID testing, and get it done.
Huh. So, and that's caused a lot of those, I guess the flu is kind of a deep swab. Is that why a technician has to do it?
Yeah. So, and strep is like your throat, and you got to press the tongue down. So a tech or the pharmacist, but like I said, right, from a business perspective, you're trying to keep people at the top of their license and what they can do. And here the technician can do it.
Awesome.
We are doing UTI. That took a little thinking on how are we going to do this, because we all were like, all right, we don't really want to deal with urine. Fair enough. So we found a test, and we made little Ziploc bags where the patient has the cup, and then they pipette the urine into the tube, and they bring us the tube. And obviously we'll wear gloves, but we're not transferring anything. All we have to do is put the reagent in the tube. So we've taken out the ick factor as best we can. But again, like UTIs, a lot of times, I mean, they come on and they're quick and you're like, gosh, I need something and I need it now.
Yep.
So they can get in really easy with us, come use our restroom, do this test. And if you're a positive for UTI, right, within a matter of 15, 20 minutes, you can be out the door with a prescription.
Now, you're saying y'all don't really mark up the test? You're not really making money on the test? You're making money on the drugs? Or how's that?
No, we're
No, she
making
said
money
they're
on the
making money
test.
on the test,
but
not
the
the
drugs. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because most insurances are so far, like my daughter, we did a flu test on her and she was positive and she wanted the Tamiflu. So I was like, you know what, try running it with your NPI, just see like if the insurance kicks it back as not a provider. It went through. So it seems with our NPI, we are able to bill drugs currently.
Nice. Huh.
And that may be because of the COVID tests, right? Like they've opened up the pharmacist NPIs to bill.
Huh. I wonder if there's any way they could come back on that and say you weren't supposed to. I mean, I guess in the state, if you're allowed to.
Yeah, I've got so many questions.
We're allowed to. And worst case would be that it billed. I mean, we probably got a $10 copay from the patient and it covered the cost of, not Tamiflu. Well, the generic's pretty cheap now. So I think we'd be well covered, but I don't see any major PBM audit concerns there. We're not really, billing anything expensive. It's
What is there any kind of opportunity for medical billing on the on the test itself?
I'm sure there is. I think I'm known as like that cash pharmacist, right? Because my market supports it.
Right.
But I have started to do some research into like the medical billing and the company that you start with to get credentialed. I struggle a little bit. I'm so active on the Facebook groups, and there's a lot of like mixed feedback. And I'm not going to like name any one over the other or anything like that. There just seems to be like challenges with these companies that promise medical billing and reimbursement and it actually happening. And so I don't want to, because we've been able to support all of our stuff on a cash basis, including all of our hormone toxin testing, all of that is cash.
Yep.
You know, we have the demographic where people drop anywhere from $500 to $1,000 for their hormone testing and toxin and GI testing. I haven't pushed the medical billing, but with expanded test to treat, I am looking into it. So there's like this nonprofit company, and I don't remember the letters off the top of my head, that you start with to, I guess, pass the sniff test to then be credentialed with the medical side of insurance.
Interesting.
So I'm kind of looking into that, and what can we do? You know, so many people are independent contracting their PBMs on their own. So I'm like, well, do we really need one of these other companies? Or if we can just figure out what the process is, maybe it's something we can all learn to do ourselves. Like maybe it's not really reinventing the wheel. It's just like you start here and then you just have to go after each one. Because we did it a little bit with our diabetes education. And I think we got credentialed with Aetna for diabetes education.
Huh.
Interesting.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to talk to the guys over at TransactRx and see if that's on their window.
I'd be interested to know.
I hope.
Yeah.
I switched to them.
I guess I'd be more interested in the chatter of what's the pain points and struggles with getting registered. And, you know, see if that's something that is falling in the TransactRx.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that they help
that,
them do is getting them credentialed. That's part of that process.
Yeah, that's part of the process. But I mean, there's still some pain points.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's pain point.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to working with them just because, I mean, I don't know if they're newer or not, but like they don't. It almost feels good that they don't have everything yet. So I feel like as owners with TransactRx, we can come to them with what we're looking for, what we need, and they can maybe tailor their offerings to us, where some of these other companies, I feel like, came to us with, well, here's what we can do for you. And they came up with like plans of stuff, but it's not necessarily tailored to what we need, or they're not really delivering in the end and such. And so there's a lot of mixed feedback, and it's a huge investment. That was the thing. Like TransactRx was like a super easy switch. It actually allows me to save, I don't know, almost $200 a month now for awesome. Services I was not benefiting from, right? And so I've been back and forth with them a few times about like, hey, do you do this yet? No, but it's on our radar. Okay, well, please keep me in the loop. Yep. Like, so I think they're going to be a really nice addition to Pioneer, and perhaps they can keep that per transaction model, which is a little bit, you know, it's just kind of nice because what my store does may not be the same as what another store does. And to charge us all the same monthly fee of a few $100s, especially if it's a program that you're just getting off the ground, right?
Yep. Yeah, and that's their goal. And And, what we need to try to be doing and helping them do too is this agility as all these states get new opportunities. We need to be. That was one of the things that we liked about them was they're a very agile organization and software. They're very modern,
nice.
developed software. And the hope that we could do that. Did want to talk about PDS a little bit. I know that you're with a group trying to put together a kind of a conference out there. So you want to talk some about that?
Yeah. So, obviously with PDS closing, it kind of left a gap. And I think there are a lot of fish in the sea trying to harness that
energy,
that energy that isn't there. And so, a handful of us that have always kind of had group text on and off, and we all spoke at Pioneer. I mean, I don't know if it's okay if I say who it is. Yeah. So it's
absolutely.
It's me and Nicolette and Joe Williams and Travis and Amina. We went back and forth with, okay, do we try to do something in February? And that felt very rushed, right? Like rushing never really manifests the best outcome. And so then we were looking at September, and there was a little feedback from NCPA about, well, do we really need another conference? And it was close to theirs. And so we've been talking with them then about doing it this year alongside them as a pre-conference, but in PDS format, so to speak, where how PDS had the all-day event usually. I mean, theirs was multi-day, but the big full day was everybody at a table, and you had multiple specialists, so to speak on what they're good at, what they bring to the table, how they can help you make revenue. Because that's always my thing with all of these conferences, is people want to come away with, how can I go home and make revenue outside of just dispensing? Everybody needs to be doing that in some capacity. So I feel that we put together a group that can then, like for me, it's usually compounding and functional medicine, right?
Yep.
So that may not be everybody, but if that's somebody's niche, then I can bring information on that, and they can connect with me after. Well, people never really think about inventory as revenue, right? But if your inventory,
most things start at inventory, and that's what's forgotten.
Yeah, if your inventory is not tight, if you're not running a robust med sync, and you're running, like maybe you came from a chain, and at the chain we were taught, keep it in stock, right? So you're reordering these expensive meds, and then they sit on your shelf for 3 to 4 weeks. That's hurting your cash flow. These are things that I want to say even older owners just lose sight of. They get caught in the weeds, and instead of looking at what you can take control of. So that's Joe's area. We know Amina is billable medical clinical services, right? That is her thing that she can speak to. Nicolette is doctor detailing, marketing, how to bring in new business. So we're hoping to, we have a call this week, and we're hoping to then have a pre-event. And I don't know the details of who. Is it NCPA? Is it us? Do we get a sponsor of a vendor? We're working out those details, but we want to bring something that can hold several hundred owners, where they leave that day with some turnkey opportunities of how to go home.
Right.
I think, when I did my point of care talk at Pioneer, I was like, we talked about how to use Pioneer, how to track it and all that. But I challenged every owner, pick one test that I talked about that you think will work in your market. And give yourself a deadline to set goals, engage your staff, bring it in and make it work. Because I'm guilty of this, of like, I come and I have all the ideas and I get home and they sit on a shelf till I go to the conference the next year. So what I've started to do is like challenge myself to take 1 or 3 things away that are going to help my business. And I put it in my calendar and I give myself a deadline. So that is what we hope to do with this event, is really challenge owners to leave and do something and track the results and say, okay, there are opportunities. It's not all doom and gloom anymore.
Sounds like that's class number 1 right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does the mastermind fit into all that? Josh and...
So Josh has kind of stepped away in this because he has moved back to California, right? And he took on the insurance job and stuff. And I know I think he may come back in if we're like, hey, Josh, we need a little marketing help, or we need a website, things like that. But I think he has just had to shift focus in his life. And I know he's always there to help pharmacy. So I think he'll come back when we're ready to market and get it out on social media and website and all of that. But he has kind of chosen to step back, and that's okay. People's lives change.
What are you going to call it?
We don't have a name yet. I think that we have a call this week.
Okay.
So I will keep you guys both in the loop as to like, what the logistics are going to be. Because I think, right, all 5 of us are Pioneer users. And I think we still would love for you guys to probably like be a part of it.
Absolutely.
Anywhere we can help.
Fully support how robust Pioneer is and how you continue to change with the times. And like, I just had a call with Will and Josh. Me and Derek had a call with Will and Josh this week, now that COVID is behind us. And I think it's just like, you do listen to those of us that are out here using your software and some of the hangups that keep us stuck. And, I think that's a huge benefit to Pioneers, that you do really engage your members to get feedback on what needs to change.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if NCPA is going to, we'd love to figure out a method. And I don't know what kind of holds NCPA from giving those kind of things. And maybe it's the fact that they're more of a CE, and whether that becomes an NCPA sponsored or what, you look at ways things can go wrong. I think, PDS got where they were giving too little of their conference, because you want you to pay for the big money for the consulting. And I think sometimes, they started off very pure about these are good vendors, right? And then that changed when they needed the more money. There was a particular vendor that he was like, we'll never have them here. They don't have a good product. And then one year they were there. Well, they spent enough money to get there. And so figuring out somebody or some organization that is not beholden, and even NCPA is beholden a little bit of saying, the behind the scenes, they can say, hey, I know this, right? But I can't say this out here because I need their money for my trade show, and you figure if you can ever get an organization that's pure in that we're going to tell the truth and we're not beholden to necessarily to have to get everybody's money for trade shows or be,
I think that is probably the main reason, like, we took this direction for right now, was because we don't want it to be CE. Like, that's our line in the sand, is like, this will not be CE. We want to be able to talk freely about products that we use that work for us, softwares we use, things like that. And what we were running into trying to do a conference in a short amount of time was, and it's a learning curve too. We didn't realize, well, you guys probably have your shows booked for the next 18 months to 2 years.
We are booked out through 2026, maybe 27.
Right. And so the wiggle room for maybe Pioneer has more wiggle room than a smaller vendor, but right. Like, so we can't just be like, okay, we didn't want to get to the point where we were taking anybody's money. We wanted tailored vendors, and some of those people were like, well, we'd love to, but we can't this year. We've already budgeted out. And so there are talks about, will we fill a time slot in the winter spring space in 24 or 25. A lot will depend on the response to this, but we do want to be, I think the thing is this is owner driven, right?
Right.
Each and every one of us owns a store. I think the beauty of it is too the capacity that we all own. We have different demographics. We have different books of business. You have startups, you have single store owners, you have multi-store owners, you have people who have bought failing stores and fixed them, right? Like you have a huge mix of owners bringing experience to the table that we can then speak to, again, all these different situations. And I think everybody deserves to be paid for their time invested in something or spent with somebody. But we're not trying to build the next PDS, right? Where there is a purity to why we want to do this. And it is our belief that there is this huge place still for independent pharmacy in spite of the struggles we have. And we want to be able to bring what works for us to owners so that they leave and do it, not just get the information. And so that's where I think each of us will make ourselves available to coach people afterwards if they get stuck along the way.
Yeah. And this is, so we don't talk about Pioneer much on this show, but I want to take a moment to say, and competitors on there can compete with this, but this is our secret sauce. We were lucky, super lucky to get people like you and the group that you're talking about.
Joe,
because this isn't about, you're passionate about this, and it isn't because it's going to grow your pharmacy. You guys are passionate about this because you really care
about your patients.
About the bigger patients, the patients, everybody else's patients. You care about the independent pharmacy space. You care about community, and way bigger. That's your values, and you're willing to lose time because of those values, right?
I wouldn't say willing to lose time. I would say willing to invest time.
But those are values. That's where your values are where you spend your money and your time on, and that's the piece that's made, and that feedback and that helping, and that's what's made Pioneer great. And I've got to know, and that's what continues to make that about you is what makes you continue to be good at your pharmacy too, because I guarantee you do that with your staff, and you do that with your patients, and you do that with your people where there's something bigger. So I just think that's awesome that y'all.
My biggest is I would love to, help and support you guys in this endeavor. And
it just makes me want to help. So I
like y'all have never built a conference before, and I would love to jump on a call and see what kind of questions y'all have that I already know, and help you guys build that.
Yeah, I really would like to be more in the loop, because I think we really would help in a way that might surprise you.
Right. Because like our biggest thing is Connect it's not a money-making show for us. The goal is for it to pay for itself.
Right. Yeah.
And that is the thing I continually to tell people when they kind of grump about the price sometimes, and it's like, this is to pay for itself.
Shows.
I know, but when you look at,
I swear, it's probably
of all the shows I have to register and pay for, our show is reasonably priced.
It is, and I always tell people, I don't think we have like anybody from Pioneer in our Pioneer group, but like the question always comes up at registration, like, is this conference worth it? I tell people, this is one of the best conferences you can invest your time in. Like the classes are great, and I love that you brought back the leveled setup mixed with the general type sessions. I love that setup, but I tell them the networking you will get at Pioneer is different than any other show, because you have something in common, and it may seem silly that it's your software, but it starts different conversations that you may not have at a PDS or an NCPA, because you'll be like, well, how do you do this? And then when you're talking about how do you do that, it then starts a whole nother conversation about something this owner does that save them time, right? Or labor dollars. Again, and all of that time, labor dollars, that goes to your bottom line. My relationship with Ben Jolly is solely around Pioneer. The fact that if I can't touch something and make it work, I'm going to find somebody else to do it.
You don't play Dungeons and Dragons?
No. My husband does. If you want to know how opposite we are,
he can join Ben Jolly. I think they play every Friday night.
I'm gonna throw a challenge out there. I bet a lot of the relationships that you have, because you're in Colorado, Amina's in North Carolina, and like Travis and all of that, I bet a lot of those relationships were started at a conference.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Or Facebook.
Or Facebook.
I'm definitely known to be the mouthy Facebook girl. And it's funny, I struggle because one of my goals in 2023 was less screen time. And so I've changed it. I've said it needs to be more targeted screen time, because I'm on my phone trying to learn how to use Splice and things. I don't want to have mindless screen time, but I have
But you spent this last year, I've noticed, I followed your journey on everything, and it's just been so much fun and so motivating, and I loved it. And so I could see now that, okay, so she was using this last year to learn and practice, so next year she can be more targeted. So, I followed your...
What is Splice? Weird. Somebody tell me what Splice is.
Weird.
Splice is... You go ahead.
Go ahead. It's like I can record, if I recorded this whole thing, it's like a video editing tool on your phone, but you can even make a video out of pictures and then insert a video and set it to music, and all these fancy TikTokers have mastered Splice or any of the other video editing tools to make their stuff look and sound pretty. Because
some of the built-in tools into TikTok and Instagram are very limiting. And so there's these add-on tools like Splice that you can cool, I'm going to build the video here in the background.
On your phone.
And yes, on your phone. And then you can upload it to social media.
Right.
And some of them have monthly or annual charges that are nothing. But the more of them you use, it does add up. So
please include us on the everything. I feel like things are moving without us. We're definitely we're invested more than our money, and we will help you.
Mina was in Kenya for 2 months, and so we have a call with Bree on Thursday, and I think that will solidify the direction it's taking. So definitely not you guys are high on my radar to be included. We just shifted.
Right.
And so now we're just finalizing, can we do what we want with NCPA helping do some of the legwork in terms of providing the room and stuff so we don't have to? If not, then we have to go, but we don't want to be held to a CE. So I think after Thursday, so you'll probably hear from me on Friday. Loop you guys back in. We appreciate your support. We're really excited about it. I think it's a good first step to just do a 1-day thing versus trying to have a huge conference. But I do think we'd like to do something big in 24.
I think if you do a 1 day in a big room, put the vendors around the outside in the one room, we get challenged with location because all the breakouts. They really don't want to give us as much breakout room as we want. But if we had everybody in one big room, like you do kind of PDS style, it'd be a lot easier to find places.
Yeah.
Yep. And we're going to have, I do know that we're planning an off-site too for that night, right? Where we have a vendor sponsor and stuff as well, so that we have and NCPA will have nothing on that, so that we definitely have no limitations about who can sponsor, what we can talk about, any of that. But it'll be like a drinks happy hour type thing, but networking as well. So I'll have more details at the end of the week after this call, because it kind of, with the holidays and everything, it just kind of fell off the radar.
I can promise you this, just like you, we're willing to invest with you this year past our value. We're usually very
Mm-hmm.
value oriented in what we spend on conferences and stuff.
Sure.
But we're willing to overspend with you guys and get that going.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, it falls in with our motives is
And as
save
much
and
as just a
revitalize
tribute to what you
independent
guys are
pharmacy, and
doing
that's
with
what
your
you're
time,
doing. Yeah.
you deserve it.
Yeah.
So you deserve our help. So
Thanks.
all right.
Well, thanks for
All right.
having me.
Thank
Thank you
It
so
was
much,
great.
Jennifer.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the Catalyst Pharmacy Podcast.
If you enjoyed today's episode,
Please like, subscribe, and follow us wherever you get your podcast.
Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts to help us reach more pharmacy professionals like you.